Good evening and welcome to the Paranormal Lens podcast presented by Jotnick's Paranormal. My name's Chad Thomas. I'm here with Jamie Widener and Kirstin Truccano right now, and we have a special guest waiting in the green room. Can't wait to bring him out. But before we get there, how was everybody's week?
It was a good week. Last week I got some exciting news. Can't share exactly everything with it yet, but it has to do with the Ren Fair and what I'm going to be doing there. So
That's exciting.
give
Can't
another week or two and I can say what I am.
wait. Okay. Well, that'll be good. Can't wait to hear that.
Oh, I can guess what you are.
We can't say
I'm
that
sure
on the
you can.
Jamie.
Yeah, it's a family show. Sorry. Okay, cool.
So what about you, Jamie? How was your week?
Well, Chad, I spent some of it with you.
Yes, you did.
We're moving
Not-
we're going to move a college freshman home for the summer, so
Yep. I was going to say we were not at an investigation this time.
we were not yet anyway. It's coming. Yeah, does your back still hurt too? It's just me.
Just you.
Okay. Yeah.
We had breakfast together and then we moved. Like it was a day.
We had a whole day. Right, there was an event in the morning and then a non-event, I guess, for the move in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and a lot of driving in between up to State College and back. So,
Yep.
oh my, it's all good stuff. It proves to me like every time any of us move, we don't realize how much stuff we accumulate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We think, oh, this will be easy or this will be simple. And when you're younger, your friends will help you for pizza and beer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that. And now that we've matured and aged, I guess, we realize that no one's going to work for that anymore. So
No.
I advise hiring professionals, but
Yeah.
they were not available Saturday afternoon, evening. So it was just us.
Well, I can tell you, Jamie, in 2 to 3 weeks, they aren't available either again. So,
I know. We got to go do it again. I know.
so,
Well aware.
but
well-
yeah, it was a good weekend. So,
Yeah, it was a good experience. Good to see the kid. And,
mm-hmm.
She's grown a lot this semester and this year. So it's really cool.
Yeah. So it's always exciting to see. Well, we're here to talk about some other stuff, but before we do
Hold on. Before we get there, I want to step back. There's a comment here I think you all should see. This was in relation
Yeah, I
to the
saw
Ren
that
Fair.
too.
So maybe is that it?
It is not, but you know how cool
Alright.
that would be?
Wouldn't that be the best thing ever?
That'd be hot. I would be telling Alex he better bring Cassie.
Steve's not even on the air and he's contributing to the episode.
Pop her right on the llama.
Yep. So,
You could save the drama for your llama.
Good.
so. Well. Anyway, speaking of Steve, I think you said you have an introduction for him.
I do. If you don't mind.
No, go for it.
Okay. This might be the last time Steve ever talks to me, but we'll give it a shot. So tonight on the Paranormal Lens podcast, we welcome back a man who clearly did not learn his lesson the first 4 times, Mr. Steve Dills. That's right. This marks Steve's 5th appearance, which means either he has a lot of paranormal insight to share, or he keeps agreeing to come back despite everything he's already experienced with us. Well, and I'm kind of guessing it's both. So, Steve is the director of Transcend Paranormal and a seasoned investigator with over a decade of experience exploring the unexplained. His journey started young, like waking up to whispers in your ear and watching your bedroom door open and close young. While most people would move, sleep with the lights on, and never speak of it again, Steve decided to lean in and make it a lifelong pursuit. Since founding Transcend Paranormal in 2010, Steve has led countless investigations, worked with historic sites, and helped raise funds for over 15 locations. Because nothing says community outreach like teaming up with ghosts for a good cause. Based out of Central Virginia, he and his team travel far and wide to help clients and investigate anything that goes bump in the night. You may also recognize Steve from The Ghost Finders, one of the longest-running paranormal shows where he serves as the team historian, blending his love for history with modern tech to figure out not just what is happening, but who might be hanging around. So whether he's breaking down centuries-old mysteries, analyzing strange encounters, or once again confirming that, yes, he did hear that noise too, we're excited and slightly concerned to have Steve back for round 5.
And Jamie, wait, there's one more thing you forgot to add. He's now has a new title. He's an author.
Sure.
So we've got that
I'm
coming.
going to let him lead that.
So anyway, we've got that coming up. But ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve Dills.
Thank you. We need like the sad horn.
We got that too. Don't worry.
Oh, so you got on a pause.
There you go. Perfect.
We're a full service sound effect here.
Everything's customizable. That's
Yep, exactly.
Beautifully written, Jamie. Thank you. Love it. Love it.
So,
Chef's kiss.
Steve, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again. I mean, you listen. You guys ask. You guys asked for this. All right. Have they
Speaking of learning lessons, I think eventually we will. Not tonight.
So
how's everybody's day been?
Long.
Yeah, I get that. I understand that. I'm in the same boat. We had some baseball and then now we're here. So
I had a booster meeting that everybody wanted to talk and talk and talk.
How exciting!
Yeah.
God, I'm so happy for you.
The 8 people that were always involved are the ones who are, Anyway, I digress. So I think, Steve, we're talking about one of your favorite places. I
have been one whole time.
Oh.
However, I'm hooked. You've already mentioned it, so it's like no cat out of the bag here. But the old hospital on College Hill is phenomenal. It's in Williamson, West Virginia, and funny thing is, it's really not all that old when you think of like old buildings and a lot of these like older hospital-esque environments. You also always immediately think, "Oh, we've snuck in." I had a feeling we would be. You gonna say hi? It's right there. You say hi.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, man.
All right, now you need to go. You need to actually go to bed. Go ahead. Good night. Okay. So
Just for reference, Steve, and here's a progress point. The last time we saw your child on the screen, they were trying to remove a diaper. So.
Yes, I know. We are. Listen, we started from down here. We've solidly made it to like here. All
Listen,
right?
it's baby steps.
We're getting there.
Yep. You got to do what you got.
But like we talk about like I was just at St. Albans Sanatorium, right? And that place is cool because it was this boys' school turned insane asylum, and they did all these crazy things here. The old hospital in College Hill was a hospital, and it was a hospital up until not too long ago. So it doesn't have this like decades old like dark history. It's not built on an old Indian burial ground. I mean, maybe it is, but I don't know that. So. By all accounts, it's kind of like this newer hospital, and I guess a lot of times when we go and investigate, I'm always really enthralled with the old places. Like I've brought most of you to the tavern, right? And that's 1730s, and I'm like, that's really cool. This is like what 1920s, I think.
Yep. I'll get to that in a minute, but yeah.
And
1900s. Like
it's not that old, but the activity that I had and experienced in that building was awesome. So I don't know. I want you. I don't want to share any more information. I want you to tell me. You tell us. Tell chat. Hey chat. Tell chat about the old hospital on College.
Okay. Well, let me cover some history, and then we'll get some more information from you, because I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about it. So.
Oh, same.
But here's the history. So tonight's episode takes us back to the mist-covered mountains of West Virginia, a place renowned for rich and often dark paranormal history. The mountain state is home to some of the most iconic haunted locations in the world, from the towering stone walls of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum to the grim, iron corridors of the West Virginia State Penitentiary. But tonight, we're heading to a location nestled deep in the heart of Appalachia, an area famous as the stomping grounds of the legendary Hatfield and McCoy feud. We're visiting the old hospital on College Hill, And to make things even better, we're joined by our good friend Steve Dills, who has firsthand knowledge and chilling experiences to share. We hope. But before we dive into the hauntings, we must look at the history that laid the foundation.
Did his audience that or
Yeah, Chad.
We've lost you.
What's that? You lost me again?
There you
are.
are.
All right.
Right
Located.
after the dive in part, we lost you.
Okay. Located in the Tug Valley region at 728 Mulberry Street in Williamson, West Virginia, the hospital we see today isn't actually the first to sit on this hill. The story begins in 1918 when the original Williamson Hospital was established to serve the residents of Mingo County. Detailed records of these early days are sparse, but by 1921, under new management, the hospital became a vital fixture of the community. Local newspapers from the era paint a vivid picture of Appalachian life, documenting everything from mining accidents and births to a rather modern-sounding malpractice lawsuit involving a poorly set broken arm. In that case, the patient not only lost the suit, but was denied disability while the legal battle raged. For years, the hospital functioned exactly as you'd expect, a place of both triumph and tragedy. But the rhythm of daily life shattered on a cold morning in January of 1927. On January 11th, a devastating fire broke out. It's believed to have been ignited by nitrocellulose X-ray film, material that was notoriously flammable, and it was stored too close to a gas stove. The resulting blaze caused $30,000 in damage, but the headlines on January 13th told a story not of loss, but of miracles. The Bluefield Daily Telegraph reported, "Patients survive hospital blaze. 14 taken to Huntington for treatment. 2 rebuild structure. Stories of heroism told, say rescues are nothing short of miracle." The heroism was indeed remarkable. Mrs. Lydia Chafin, who had given birth to her son Tony just 5 days prior, found herself trapped on the 3rd floor as smoke choked the hallways. In a moment of pure, terrifying desperation, she threw her newborn out this window. Below, an orderly named Raymond Edwards rushed into position and caught the infant safely in his arms. Thanks to the influence of the baby's father, Leonard Chafin, a well-known figure in the region, this story of survival has been preserved for generations. Others found more harrowing ways to the ground. One of the owners, Dr. G.D. Conley, was forced to jump from a 3rd-story window onto a makeshift pile of mattresses alongside 3 of his nurses. Then there was Floyd Richardson, a man with perhaps the worst luck in history. Floyd had spent months recovering from severe steam burns from a locomotive accident and was scheduled to be released the very next day, only to suffer new critical burns while escaping from the flames. The community didn't let the ashes sit for long. By March 2nd, 1928, a new $175,000 facility opened its doors. It was a feat of local pride, funded through bonds sold to local business owners, bonds that were remarkably fully paid off by 1939. According to the Hinton Daily News, this new facility featured 72 beds and was considered one of the finest in the state. In 1937, a nearby dormitory believed to originally have been part of the Williamson Business College was used to house nursing students. That dorm remained in use until 1949 when it was converted to offices, laundry, and record storage, and ultimately what gave the area its name, College Hill. For the next 60 years, the hospital was the heartbeat of Williamson. Life began here, and life ended here. But in 1988, the building transitioned into office space, and later, the main hospital facility was repurposed as a storage space. For decades, those halls were silent, filled only with the paper trails of thousands of lives. Records of every first heartbeat and every final breath taken within these walls. It's as if the building were literally holding onto the town's secrets, waiting for the doors to open once more. The story didn't end with the filing cabinets. In 2018, the hospital partnered with the Tug Valley Convention and Visitors Bureau to open for paranormal tours. The response was overwhelming. Nearly every ticket was sold. In 2019, guests even received a surprise appearance from Tony Moran, the original Michael Myers from the 1978 movie Halloween. In late 2020, the hospital was sold to a private investor, and in 2021, the old hospital on College Hill, officially opened for year-round historic and paranormal tours. Today, you can book everything from a guided walkthrough to an overnight investigation, with prices ranging from $30 to $500. There are also day and evening photography tours available, something this member of the Paranormal Lens team is definitely interested in, especially alongside an overnight investigation. With a century of history filled with trauma and joy, it's no surprise people believe the building holds on to something more. But history only tells part of the story. Before we move into our discussion with Steve, I'd like to acknowledge the sources that helped us piece the timeline together. collegehill.com, newspapers.com, the Bluefield Daily Telegraph, Thursday, January 13th, 1927, Hinton Daily News, Monday, February 27th, 1928, Ancestry.com, Tony Chafin Genealogical Records, www.wvgw.net, which is the West Virginia Gen Web Early Schools of Nursing. Now, Steve, I've drawn the lines with history. Can you fill in the color with some of your experiences?
Yeah, and I guess before I share my experience, I want to talk a little bit about, I guess, the mindset of walking into a building like this, right? I had a number of friends. Ray Savino had been out there. I know Ellen Marston. Some of the Ghost Hunters folks had all been out there and had investigated this building. And some of the experiences that they shared with me personally were, just absolutely wild. It was, kind of like walking into a location that, hasn't been investigated for a while. And I think there's something to that, right? I feel like there are certain locations that, just everybody goes to, everybody flocks to. Every day of the week there's something going on. And I kind of feel like there's also something more to being one of those folks that gets to experience a location before it becomes that. You know what I mean? I hope that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of felt that way. I know, I had a lot of friends that had been there, but it just wasn't this, overly done, over the top kind of experience. It was, we got to investigate. And that was really cool. But my mindset going into this building was, it's creepy. It's there's some really wild experiences that people have had. And so I'm like, what does this place have in store for me? What creepy thing is gonna happen? And we first get there, actually the night before, and we walk around outside, take a couple pictures, and just kind of took a view over the town, because this building literally overlooks, the entire downtown area. It is this giant, just Goliath of a structure sitting up on this big hill overlooking this small town, which sounds creepy, right? It almost sounds Silent Hillish in a way.
You have this picture that you sent me that.
And that's overlooking. So the building is right behind you, and so you've got this looming, just abandoned hospital sitting up above this hill, looking down onto this small little valley town. And if you didn't have context, it would be incredibly creepy, right? This derelict building that, it looks like a hospital, just overlooking the town. But when we got there, we met with one of the owners, Charlie. Charlie is a Hatfield, so Hatfield and McCoy's. This is Hatfield-McCoy territory. And, we walk in and he starts giving us a tour and everything. And this is actually kind of referencing something I wrote in the book, but I remember asking him, like, why, okay, and you talked about it. What was it, 2021, somebody bought the building.
Mm-hmm.
That was Charlie and Tanya. And so I'm like, Charlie, what brought you to, this building? Like, why did you just buy this? Oh, look at that massive, abandoned hospital sitting up on that field or up on that hill. I'll buy it. That's mine now. Like what drives you to that? And he's like, well, this was, this was my life. And he kind of dug into it a little bit more and shared that, it was almost as, go back towards like, American Revolution, Civil War times, these taverns are kind of like, and which is why I love the Hanover Tavern. Taverns were kind of the heartbeat of these small towns and villages, dotting, the colonial countryside. And this time, this hospital was the heartbeat of this community. And Charlie explained to me that it was, it wasn't just some random town. This was a mining town. This was coal mining. This is big mining area, and so, it's literally and figuratively the heartbeat. People, like you said, Chad, people were born here and people died here. People had second chances here. They had hope here, and that's what Charlie made me realize walking through the door. And it was just as if this like light, it just switched. I went from this is a really creepy place to holy shit, there's a lot of love and compassion here. There is these folks being stewards out of appreciation for location, not because it's creepy, but because it was so cared for. Charlie shared that his parents had been in that hospital. I believe they had both passed in that hospital. He was born in that hospital. His family worked in that hospital. I mean, it was just so integral to the town. And they fought so hard to keep it open for so very long. But ultimately, when as things happen in these small mining towns, the money just wasn't there anymore. And so it eventually had to close. But it for a time it was one of the nicest hospitals in the area. They had that other building that sits right next to it that was the nursing college or the nursing school. And so the one on the left was for the nurses, and they dorm there and practice at the hospital. So it was so well put together and well done. And it was such a huge loss for their community to lose that building. Not even just, the physicality of the building, but the fact that that service is no longer available in that town. There is no hospital there anymore. And that's kind of something that's happening across small town America everywhere.
I think they did reopen another hospital.
Yes.
So, but during COVID, there were no hospitals in this town.
Nope.
20
it was the next county. Is it next county or next town over? But I know they had one that stayed open or reopened for it.
Yeah. So the details got fuzzy, but yeah, it was definitely interesting.
And I found that so unique that like, he was there because that was his bloodline. That was his lifeline for a very long time. And most of the locals in the area, some of the folks that we had an opportunity to talk to, all remember the hospital. So it was so cool because a lot of times you go to these locations and you go and explore, and it's so difficult to find anybody, within reach that remembers it active or open, or they worked there or something like that. And so having the ability to talk to some of these people, yeah, I worked there. My mother worked there as a nurse. My parents went there, when they were elderly. It made it a little bit more real, I guess, because sometimes you walk into these locations and you're like, man, what happened here? And I feel like you walk into the old hospital in College Hill and you're like, I can understand what happened here. This isn't so far outside of of grasp that it feels real.
Right,
It feels like a hospital.
and you can connect with it. Whereas if you go to an asylum,
Yeah.
you're not going to connect with an asylum because you wouldn't have gone there for treatment. But if
Well,
you
speak for yourself, Chad. Listen.
well, we wouldn't admit to going there. But any of the four of us would have walked into a hospital anywhere in any small town
Mm-hmm.
and been involved.
Yep.
So it is interesting.
And I think that's why we talked about it. It's not that old of a building, but I think that just speaks more volume to the impact that it made to so many people, right? It had a finite amount of people that walked through its doors, but for being as active as I experienced it, it was, I mean, it was up there easily. And it's not, I mean, it is fairly big, but it's not, it's not massive. It's not like Sweet Spring Sanatorium, ridiculously large, kind of thing. Like you can find your way around, but you can still get a little bit lost. And they've done so well to take care of it. It's awesome.
All right, so we want to acknowledge this comment. Our friends Bert and Heather are traveling in I'm drawing a blank.
Scotland?
They should be in Edinburgh, Scotland at the moment.
Yeah.
I saw their post correctly today.
So they wanted to join us tonight. So thank you guys.
Is
Or
that
at least
tonight or tomorrow for them?
It'd be tomorrow for them.
Yeah.
It is, I believe, 2 a.m. their time. So
Oh, so this is like perfect time to be listening to like some of these stories.
Mhm.
All right. Well, we got to start all over for them. So
I know. Okay, we're going back. No, I'm just kidding.
right from the beginning.
Well, so we can start at the beginning of my one of the, I guess, the more interesting experiences that I had here. I'm not a psychic by any stretch of the imagination. I do think that over a period of time, and I think we've talked about this before, that you can become accustomed to walking into locations that have supposed preternatural activity, and you can kind of get that feeling that you're like, I think there is something has changed in the environment. But I'm not a psychic, and so we're walking through the building, and we decide to do a Estes session, and I think you guys know what an Estes method session is, but
Yep.
Anybody that that maybe is not aware of what it is, you put on noise canceling headphones. I actually use these, and you can connect to anything from a PSB7, Shack Hack, Ghost Box, Spirit Box, to, I like to use an app called an Echovox, which has 6 word banks in it, and each word bank has a couple hundred words in it, and it just shuffles through randomly. And the idea and the intent is that whatever is trying to communicate, if I'm listening to try to hear what is coming out of it, I'll say what I hear. Now, the people that are asking questions, they're asking whatever. They can't hear what's coming out of the box because of my noise canceling headphones. So it removes a little bit of answer biasness. Hopefully that makes sense. But I was sitting, I want to say it was maybe the 3rd floor, and there was a nurse's station. And honestly, I think it was in this hallway right here. And I brought that chair, I think, or a chair that was similar to it, right into the middle of the hall. And granted, this is at daytime, so we had the building to ourselves for quite a while. So you definitely have an opportunity to go and take a bunch of pictures, Chad, and get a really, really good opportunity with lighting with what is it, the golden hour and everything like that. So, it is fantastic. When night falls, it's dark. It's darker than dark. It is pitch freaking black in this building. I mean, think about it. You were in West Virginia. You were out in wild and wonderful West Virginia. There is nowhere near as much light pollution as there probably is collectively around all of our houses. So it's dark. It's beautiful. But when it's nighttime, it's dark. And so We're sitting in this hallway, pitch black, and I decided to do an SE session. And they were, the team was asking questions, and obviously I couldn't hear what they were asking. I was just saying what I was hearing. But then at one point I started to like picture in my mind this, just a couple of weird things. First, it was like as if there were these people that were crawling, like as if they were crawling through the hallway towards me, trying to get help. And then there was this nurse that all of a sudden just stood there right in front of me. And she had on like that old school kind of nurse's cap and everything. And this is all, I mean, I had my eyes closed. I couldn't hear anything that was going on. So you could, take it for what it's worth here. And I meant to send you one other picture because it's some of the most amazing artwork I think I've ever done in my entire life. I'm pulling it up for you.
Mm-hmm.
But I was sitting there, and just this woman, whomever this was, this nurse appears, and she's standing in front of me. And next thing I can kind of recall is she's sort of beckoning for me to stand up, to take her hand, and to go with her wherever that might be. And I don't know why, but I was like, all right, it's a great idea. Let's go. So I remember in my mind, and my team confirms that I was sitting for the entire duration of this, but in my mind, I stood up and I followed this nurse down the hall. We took a left, and we went out the front door. And this was after spending like a half a day in the building. I don't remember the whole layout, but that was accurate. Like I retraced it just to make sure that I didn't just make up some hallways to make us go downstairs and out the door. But it logically was the actual path that we took. And so we walked outside, and as soon as we walked outside, it was daytime. And we were standing, now this is West Virginia. We were standing at the top of a holler, and we were looking down into almost like this little valley, right? And here's the picture. I'll sign this and sell it to anybody who wants to buy. No, I'm just kidding. So I drew it because I was like, I had to get this out. And so this is the artistic ability of Steve Dills. My stick figures are on point, ladies and gentlemen. But it was odd because you could see the path, this dirt road that kind of wandered around the corner of this hill, and she was standing in front of this little rancher. And it wasn't like a lot of times when you think of ghosts, and we talked about this, you think of like really old places and these men in uniforms, soldiers from the Civil War, the Revolutionary War. No, this was like 30s, 40s nurse's hat. She was standing in front of some sort of rancher, like a typical house you would still see today. And she was kind of like, I don't know, she made me feel like I was supposed to witness something. And just to drive home the fact that something's going on here, you need to be aware of this, or you need to, something, some sort of message. I could not figure it out. And I kind of feel bad for that, but I couldn't figure it out, for one. And two, I knew that despite what I was seeing, being out in, it's a blue sky. I remember seeing the clouds overhead. I remember the color of the green in the trees. I remember they even had a fence right along the curve. Like, I remember all of this so vividly. And I remember thinking, like, I shouldn't be here. I should be back with my team. I left my team, in the middle of this hospital. And so I remember turning around because I was like, I've got to go back. And so I turned around, and as I turned around, It was the same thing. The house was there, the woman was standing there, the hill, the trees, everything was the exact same. It was as if I had not turned around. And I did that 3 or 4 times, and then I felt something in my hand. And when I did, I kind of grabbed onto it, and that's when I realized that that was my chair, like the chair that I was sitting in. And so I kind of like focused on that for a second, and then I was able to open my eyes, and I was like, I gotta go outside. Uh, and I have no idea what that was. I have no idea how to explain that. I don't even have any good way to validate that. You know what I mean? I can't be like, oh yeah, I found the holler. I found that little road. Because there's so much up there. It was just some little dirt road. Um, but I've had that happen. I can count on one hand how many times. I have had that happen, once or twice before, but not in that depth, and definitely not vividly, not as vivid. And I mean, we were having things happen all night long. I mean, it felt like we were being chased around that building. Actually, two of our investigators got scratched, and I mean, it was just wild. It was just active, 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 to the point that you kind of had to stand outside and get a breath of fresh air for a minute before going back in. I remember standing outside for like a good 20 minutes after that, just being like, I gotta get the fresh air.
Wow.
But it's an interesting place. It is a very interesting place because, I mean, even on top of that, we were getting EVPs of different things, and I don't know. And the hard, I guess the interesting part is the way that I started looking at it was not of this really creepy experience with this creepy nurse, but kind of tying it back into what Charlie had mentioned, like what was this important thing? What was I supposed to gather that I just had no, I just couldn't seem to do. Um, and kind of ever since then, I've been dying to go back. I
Some
haven't
road
go back.
trip.
I know, out to Mingo County. There's also a tunnel out there called the Dingus Tunnel. Hey,
Yes.
swear to God, it is
Oh, we have proof.
yes, the Dingus Tunnel. And
That's my new favorite tunnel.
so, we're talking to like Charlie and Tanya, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you got to go see the tunnel." And we're like, "What tunnel?" And they're like, the what is it? I can't remember what they called it. The tunnel of Bloody Mingo County or something like that.
Yeah, the bloody tunnel of Mingo County.
Thank you.
Um,
And I was like, I gotta see this. I gotta see this. And then she was like, yeah, just it's called Dingus Tunnel now. And I was like, I really have to go see this. So our entire team, everybody that went with us, we all went up and walked a portion of this tunnel. Um, did you, Chad? Did you pull up some history on this?
I did pull up a little bit of history on this.
Okay, I'm gonna let you share some history.
Mhm.
Before you do that, I'd like to point out, in the photo on the right is my good friend Chris Vaughn, um, who had some sort of courage. Redneck courage. That man climbed all the way up the side to sit over the tunnel, and he was waving at folks as they drove through.
I mean, this is still an active single lane road through this
It
tunnel.
is. It is a single lane, and it is. God, I swear it's like a mile long. You
Hmm.
can barely see the other end. They tell you to put your lights on, because I mean, you can't see. You can see like a little thing, a dot of light at the very far end. And people go like 70, 80 miles an hour through this thing. They book it. They do four-wheeling through this thing. It's ridiculous. But the history around it is just as cool, if not cooler. Well, grotesque.
Yeah. The history is in 1892, the Norfolk and Western Railways were looking for a way to connect two of the towns, Lenore and Wayne, West Virginia. So they built this tunnel, and it brought Chinese and African American workers to the area. Well, the locals, and the area was called 12 Pole Creek. The locals weren't so fond of that influx of foreign people. And one of the stories is they would sit and at either end of the tunnel with guns, rifles, things like that, and pick off people that they didn't feel should be coming into their town.
Yes.
So you had that
They
to start.
would stand right around the tops of that tunnel, and as the train would come through, because it was they just opened fire. Sometimes they'd even stop them and go car by car and inspect. It was nuts.
Yeah. So this is what gave the county the name Bloody Mingo. The railway, there were a couple accidents. 1898, a fatal train wreck killed 7 people, and then in 1905, a head-on collision in the tunnel resulted in the deaths of 3 people. They knew this wasn't a safe passage. They worked out a more economical, better way, so they shut this tunnel down. But it was the only way to get into the one town, so they turned it into a road. So when it was in 1913, they turned it into a road, and they made it a tunnel for horse buggies and later cars. And it's still, it's considered one of West Virginia's best thrill rides.
It's a thrill ride. That's horrible. That's not a good idea. You should not advertise this as a thrill ride. This is a functioning road.
Yeah. So anyway, but there's still accidents that happen in it to this day because of how.
Oh yeah, I sent you one more picture that was taken inside of the tunnel. So being the smart folks that we are, we decided we were going to walk into the tunnel just a little bit. Because not only had we heard that, they would stand over the tops of the tunnels and shoot rifles at folks, but they also would hang people from within the tunnel so that the trains would have to hit it, I guess, as it drove through. And so we decided to walk in a little bit. We did get some EVPs in there. Going along with it being the greatest. A thrill attraction. Like I said, people go like 90 miles an hour in this thing. People book it through this tunnel. There you go. That is right inside of the tunnel. You can't even make out where the lights end, and that's actually just the opening to the other side. It just meets. I mean, it's ridiculously long, and we actually almost witnessed an accident. A car was making its way through on our side, and there was another car with its lights off, booking it through, and that was interesting. But yeah, it's definitely not a safe place. I think it's really cool, but I would definitely urge you to be extremely cautious if you do dumb things like try to get a picture like this. I think there's like every once in a blue moon there's these little cutouts where like if you were to try to tempt fate and walk through it, you could get into that cutout while a vehicle is passing you. But they're very very shallow. You're talking about maybe, a 2 foot space. Like you could probably reach out and give a smooch to somebody in the passenger side as they drove past you. Like it's a tiny tunnel, but it's. I mean, you can feel it. You walk in there and you're like, it feels heavy. It feels heavy just knowing that history.
Mm-hmm.
And that's up in Hatfield McCoy land, so people are always consistently driving the 2x, four wheelers and dirt bikes and everything through there because a lot of that, you have to pass through that tunnel to head to a lot of the trails that take you out to the Hatfield McCoy properties. So it's cool. It's a cool little spot. Just be careful. Don't die.
Noted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
There's a lot of cool things out there.
Yeah, it's 0.63 miles, so it's well over half a mile.
it feels long when you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna stop that. It's interesting. It's interesting to know. It's a cool spot.
So,
But Mingo, I mean, Mingo itself is cool because there are, I would say if you do have the opportunity to go investigate it, um, you've got the hospital, highly recommended. There's, I forgot I said that. That's Chris and I on our way back. um, but there's a lot of cool stuff to do out there, especially if you love history. Like I said, there's a lot of the Hatfield McCoy trails and a lot of the old houses that were out there, burial grounds and all that from the battles that they had and everything. It's a cool spot, man. And I love that it's more relatable to our time versus something that is disconnected by a generation or two. That's different. That's different than most places for me, I feel like.
Well, you've given me something here, and the introduction is that Chad provided as well, and it just makes me go to this, and I'll say it now out loud. West Virginia is spooky as F.
It is.
Damn state.
It really is.
What the hell is going on out there?
The state, the people. No, I'm just kidding.
Right?
The state. But it's also beautiful. That's the thing.
Yes.
It's
Yep.
some of the Connor sisters, right? They're from there.
yes.
There's
Well,
some
I don't.
favorite people.
They live really close, and I think they have family out there. But it's all. I mean, it's all Appalachian mountains. So like, you go out there. We stayed at an Airbnb, and our Airbnb was sitting right on the side of a mountain, and we kind of had to like, waddle our fat asses up the side of a hill a little bit. But up in the hill there was the remnants of some pipes where they would have had like a still, and I just thought that was so cool to be able to get to see, some of this, just a different way of living, especially as down here in Central Virginia. You don't see any of that. But it's beautiful. They tell you don't whistle at night. I will tell you, we did that because we're horrible people.
Why?
Have you met Steve?
Here's the thing.
I'm
I
always
had
in pursuit of a good story.
I had a friend while we were in Japan go, I wonder if they have skinwalkers here, and starts whistling, and I looked at him like, you don't understand. There's probably things worse here than a skinwalker. Stop.
But I mean, that's a very cultural experience if you get to have that. I think that's cool. I don't know. I'd run inside, but like I'd totally wait for the Squatch to approach, and then I'd go behind the wooden door and pretend that would protect me.
We were 2 miles away from the Ryozan that we stayed in, at the base of Fuji. I didn't know.
They're known for their apples, by the way.
Yeah, they are. Quite good.
I'm not sure there's going to be a sixth time after that joke.
I'll make sure it happens.
Oh, man.
I had to throw that not fact in there real quick.
Those good
How
old
fast it
apples
goes
from
off the rails.
Fuji.
So Jamie, you've been pretty quiet tonight. What are your thoughts on this? Like,
Oh man, I got a lot. I'm making notes. Back to the hospital first. One of the things, and I've realized this about myself. I grew up with grandparents and great uncles and so forth. My dad's an only child, so I didn't have really any aunts and uncles. So everybody was older. And one of the things about them is that our family came from Southern Virginia. On the 81 corridor. Glade Springs is the nearest town. So they were farmers, and then they became miners. And I know we spread over into West Virginia. It's only about 2 hours away from our home area to Williamson. I know there were tales of old mines and stuff in that area. So, I get it. And unfortunately, these folks have passed away, because I'd love to have a sit down with them and talk about it. But you're right. It's rural. It's hard scrabble in a lot of ways. A lot of homestead style existences, and it is dark at night anytime you go out. Anywhere there. and which
Yeah,
is
you
beautiful.
gotta be
Like,
self-sufficient. Like
yeah,
nobody. I mean, and not in like the dark and spooky way, but
yeah,
nobody is coming to save you. You have
yeah.
to be reliable, and you have to be self-sufficient. I think there's something to say about that. That a lot of people don't even realize. Like, if the
Mhm.
internet went out today, I think a good chunk of the population would just cease to exist. Uh,
We get shut down. Right. What do I do now?
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
and you have all of this, especially like you're saying, like just handed down knowledge and information and
Hmm.
how to survive
Yeah.
that people don't get today.
Well, the
Stefan
one,
has a comment here. It's considering some of the Appalachian folklore about the things that inhabit the mountains, I would heed the advice of locals.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, totally.
Hmm.
Yes, yes.
the
I
one
think
constant
for most
in
people
that,
that's a good idea. Just
yeah, well, the one constant in every community though is the hospital or the medical care place. It doesn't have to be this. And for me, hospitals were stressors when I was a kid because that meant someone was unwell, and
yeah,
people died in hospitals and that kind of stuff.
yeah.
There's trauma there, but there's also the positivity of someone who's unwell getting care and
Hmm.
rehabilitation, and the pivoting to recovery, and birth, even like just the joy of children, and Kirstin can speak
Yep.
to that directly, with her now
Yeah.
9-month old. Congratulations,
Yeah.
happy birthday, Cassie, or happy almost birthday, Cassie. It's that, and there are hubs that way because of it,
Yep.
and they're also probably one of the largest employers too. So
Yeah.
it's a livelihood issue, like a
You
support
you
system.
weren't a nurse, you were a minor.
Well, either one, and you might be both. You never know what day it is,
Might be
right?
both.
Um, but that kind of all that makes sense. Why it is that it has that presence and place in the community. Um, and you said something really cool, Steve, too. Like you knew people who have been there, and while it's still under the radar, you wanted to experience it yourself. And I think for me, and I can't speak for the other guys here, but I trust certain people to tell when they tell me about an experience they've had or a place they've been to that I should do it too, more so than I trust like the internet saying, hey, this is a cool thing, because that's a
Oh
marketing
yeah,
tool,
yeah, yeah,
you know
100%.
so if you, and Steve, you've been to, and I finally got to do it, but you've been saying for years, come to the tavern, come to the tavern. We
Mhm.
finally got to do it for the Paracon, but then also coming back for the investigation, and it did not disappoint. You were right, and that might be the only time I ever say this out loud to you.
I'm recording. We're record. Somebody's recording.
I know it. I did it on
Somebody's-
purpose. It's on the air, but it's in posterity. But we there are so many places to go, opportunity wise. And everything could have activity in it, literally.
Oh
And
yeah.
everything's been around forever. So, but then you have to make choices. Where do I go? What do I do? And
Mhm.
I think it's really cool that you noted that and took advantage of the opportunity to get to it. And of course, the experiences are off the chart.
Yep.
So speaking of the experience, we did, and this is my curiosity here, and bear with me a moment while I set this up. But a few weeks ago, Chad did a really good episode on time slips, and as I'm hearing your experience, it makes me wonder if that's what you experienced as well, where you stepped out of our place and time and into another for at least a while, and then came back to where you began. Sounds like it in the classic sense of what I understand it to be. It really sounds like that experience, but I've
This
never known
morning,
anyone.
this morning when I got out of the shower and I was like, "Oh, I've got the podcast tonight," and I was like, "We always talk about crazy shit, always just crazy shit." And I was like, "I'm not gonna bring up weird, universal like existentialism things this time." And then you, sir, just did.
Right now.
Well, one of us has to, right?
um, I agree, and I think that has always been one of my appreciations, I guess, for the paranormal. Is it is an easily accessible final frontier. We've always been like, oh, the ocean, the final frontier, space, the final frontier. Well, sometimes it's kind of difficult to get to those two things. But we get to explore this idea that there are some things that physics our understanding of physics we can't comprehend. Um, and that has always been a really fun idea to me, is the idea that, you know, maybe ghosts aren't dead people, maybe they're just people. Why do they gotta be dead? And that, you know, that speaks to the idea that, god damn it. Golly, you just wanted a 2-hour, didn't you?
I had
You wanted it.
we might as well, right? We're all here.
Yeah, everybody take a pee break. So this, it speaks to the idea that, you know, we only experience time 1 second per second, but that doesn't mean that that's the extent of it.
Right.
Right? Just because we experience time as a vector, meaning going one way, doesn't mean that there aren't other things or other ways to experience reality. We know that birds experience reality differently because they can see just exponentially more colors than we can. Mm-hmm. We know that bats can't visibly see like we do, but they use sonar and hearing and sound to paint a map of their environment so that they can navigate it like Daredevil. We know these things. So why is our version of reality and experiencing reality, why is that the only way?
Right. It's like our friend Ron Iacovetti says, time is a human construct.
It is. You know,
and we are forcing it to go this way and only this way. And I think there's so much more that we can open our minds up about if we wanted to. We just aren't there.
Well, I think some of it. I think, and I agree with Ron. I think that there is some things that we don't understand because we're not ready to understand it. And I don't think that that's like a godly guiding hand that's like, okay, well, the humanity is ready. I think we just haven't figured it out yet. Now, I do think that there is a piece to this that, you know, we're probably just not going to be able to ever comprehend. And why is that? It's because we are a species that grew on a planet, and as a species, we decided to interact and handle our environment in the ways that we do to best suit our needs. That doesn't mean that from a survival instinct, you know, we have eyes so that we can see. We have fingers so that we can feel, right? We have sound, we have ears so that we can hear if there's danger. All of those things are around survival. We have spent hundreds of thousands of years as humans surviving. None of that set us up for looking up and being like, I wonder what that is. Right? So because we are a product of our environment, it's so difficult to say that we will ever truly understand physics. We understand our version of it, and it fits for most things, but not all of it. And so that's where we kind of come back to the idea that maybe something is experiencing time differently than we are. And so it's a slice of time that is playing while we are also playing.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
I've been listening to a lot of Dolores Cannon books. Steve, are you familiar with her?
I'm not, but maybe I need to be.
I think you should.
Okay. I'm a huge like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Star Talk, all these sorts of things. And I've been toying around with the idea of like the holograph universe for a couple weeks now and kicking that around, and that plays very nicely into this idea that you know, time is a slice. You know, we might not be able to go backwards in time, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. Right? Well, it just means we can't do it.
So, I would suggest for where you're looking, Convoluted Universe.
Okay.
There's a book that I think you would really be interested in.
You have to send it to me because
yep.
I'm gonna look this up.
Yep.
I tried to take it. I put like a little toe dip in for you there, Jamie. We could talk about space for space time if you want. But that's another.
Well, it comes back to something we talk about here all the time. Like we tend to do what's been done before, right? So we follow a path, and the path was set by somebody, and we just kind of keep going on it, you know. And not to say that we're not trying to figure out more things and do different stuff. But the traditional sense, we're just walking forward. We're not veering. So in a day-to-day kind of way. So without more innovation or creativity to do something different, we just kind of keep going. And we process everything the same way, that in that sense, and this being time specifically in this context. But until we can come up with something else or understand something more, this is what we'll have. And I agree with you, there may be way more out there than we'll ever, in our lifetimes at least, hopefully in our future, our kids and our kids kind of thing, in their future there is something more.
I mean, I'm very jealous. I would love for it to be us.
Right. Yeah,
it
should be us. It really should. Let's get to work.
It should be. I'd like to know the things. And my kids can also know the things, but I would like to also be alive to know the things. Because I think that would be cool. I want to know the things.
The things. All the things.
All the things. Everything. Any of the things. All the things. I want to know all the things. What is life,
Mm-hmm.
I want all of them. I want them all. No, but I love it. I think it's it has given me some ideas around investigating that I haven't thought of before. If we're just taking time and we're saying, well, you know what, it's just a, yes, time is an emergent property of our reality, but we still measure it. And time still exists in our reality. And that's I guess the hard part is like saying it's a human construct, and I love you, Ron, but I also think that it's more of it is a property of reality. So we say that time exists because we know that there can be an object that's in one state, right? And now it's in a different state, right? So we know that there has been change to this. How did that change happen? Time. Because 10 seconds ago it was this. Now it's this. So time can exist without humans being present to interact with it, because there are two states to any given object. Same thing with distance. Distance is an emergent property too, because the only thing that requires distance is that there are two objects. If there was only one object in the universe, would distance matter? No. And if that object stayed the way it was forever and ever and ever, would time matter? Not really. It's always the same. It's always the same. This water bottle is always going to be this water bottle. It's always going to sit here, and it won't ever change. So what's the difference looking at it now versus tomorrow? So in a sense, I do agree. I also think that time is an emergent property of our reality. It is a byproduct. It is it's not necessarily a way to describe something, but just like distance, it's a way to approximate where something is. It is a coordinate. Time is a coordinate.
See, I can buy that. With,
And that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I can say I'm on Earth. That's great. When are you on Earth? Are you on Earth tomorrow? Are you on Earth today? Because tomorrow we're going to be at a different spot in space than we were right now.
Or now.
Or right now. Or 2 seconds. No. But the idea is that, like, if I said, hey, meet me on Earth, you got to give me more than just X, Y, and Z. You got to give me when, too. Because if you're saying, well, I'm on Earth, cool, great. But if I go in to meet you where you were broadcasting from right now, and I get there in 10 hours, you're not going to be there anymore.
Yeah, but are we? And that's the other part of this question. Are we? Still
are we
there?
Moving?
Or does that thing that seems like 10 hours ago still exist in the same time, same plane? Because there's the idea that everything happens simultaneously, continually. So how does that fit into it?
Possible. It's possible. I still think it's, I still think regardless of how things are occurring, we only have the ability to experience time at 1 second per second. That's it. We can't go faster. We can't. Well, I mean, we can.
The way we understand our mind now, I agree with you.
Yes, and we can in the presence of gravity. We can actually go slower or faster. Depends. But because we can't, and that's the hard part about all of this is when you go that big, it's so difficult to come back down. When you're like, well, all of this can exist simultaneously. Well, then why does anything matter? And that's so existentially difficult, by the way, to deal with when you start thinking about it. Like, why does it matter? If all of it, everything always everything exists all the time, everything everywhere all at once. It's hard sometimes. And that's why it's fun to remind yourself you're only experiencing it 1 second per second, and that's how we get to play this reality out. Other things, whatever can experience it differently, but this is what we got, and we get to make the most out of it. But it is so fun to postulate. What is it? Because when you start thinking about the limitations of your own being, the things that you perceive and the ways that we have our perceptions, and the way that they're not all the same for other animals, it starts to make you question, or I guess it's really it's more of a statement that your reality or your perspective of reality is not the only perspective, and it's not the right one just because it's yours.
It might not be the wrong one.
It might not be, but
yeah.
We also, there's animals that see, ultraviolet light. We can't see UV light. And their version of what reality looks like is more like if you're, doing DMT at a rave, it's like everything's UV. It's just a club all the time, 24/7. But that kind of sounds fun. But we're not ghosts anymore. We're raves. But I think it's so cool to think about that, because then it's like, how do we expect to understand things out there, out in the cosmos and the stars, and then on the flip side also still know very little about the planet that we are hurling through space on.
I think there's lots we have to discover about this planet.
Oh yeah, and not even just this planet, but even just the way that we understand just the universe. That's why physics is always just the best guess.
Well, Steve, I want to go back to perspective for a second. So,
okay.
When we talked about time slips, that it was a perspective of someone seeing someone who was out of place, appearing and vanishing. So, imagine the perspective of the person, the nurse in your case. You encountered her perspective of you.
Mm-hmm.
You are
sitting in the middle of my hospital.
Yeah, you are you here, and then you are you there. Like, those poor people, first of all.
I know.
They had no idea what they were getting into. But what was happening to them? What could have happened to them if you stayed longer?
Right.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, that's the fun thing to think about.
You made headlines for them. You are their headline of something cool that happened or something unusual that is noteworthy. Unusual for that the experience. Like, you may made their day, and you may still be talking about it. Who knows? Who knows? That's amazing to me. Like, if it's true or if it's plausible to be what it is.
That would be fun, though, and that could be something that is almost in a way documentable, right? Because maybe you could look back and say, and that's actually kind of the idea that I was thinking about, by the way, which is fun. When you were like, how do we track all of these? Honestly, it's a lot of data, but cameras, right? If you had cameras in a location for an entire year or 10 years, you consistently recorded all of the data, all of the environmental variables, everything about it. And this is kind of where, and I hate to say it, but AI might come into good use, is could you go back and say, okay, well, we've recorded some form of preternatural activity. Can I reference this to any experience within the X last amount of years of video data that I have now? You know, if there was a nurse that was seen in this hallway, you know, did that actually happen in reality, and we're just seeing a playback? Can we say, okay, well, you know, we lined it up, and that actually is where we saw this ghost, and so now you actually have proof that you're saying, okay, well, it did happen historically. So what you're seeing is not a I mean, depending on how you perceive time in this instance, it could be intelligent. But what you're seeing is not a ghost. It's just somebody going about their day, but for whatever reason, it's out of sync with what we're experiencing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I mean, it's kind of difficult to explain, because I know what you're talking about. It's hard to, like, unpack how... It sounds simple, but when you start thinking about it, how difficult and how... Oh, that's my Aunt Christine. Hi, Aunt Christine. I'll be at Penhurst, by the way. I'll be in Penhurst. Is it May 16th and 17th?
Mm-hmm.
For Penhurst Paracon. So, you should come, Aunt Christine. She lives up near there.
Advertising.
I know, right? Come see me, family. But I get what I get what you're saying, and it's kind of, it's a very, if you like philosophy and you like the idea of, like, well, what does that mean then? Well, what does that mean then? They're really fun rabbit holes to go down. If you don't, we sound like a bunch of idiots, and I also love that.
I may resemble that remark.
Just a
Well, people are
bunch
like,
of idiots.
they're like, why do they care about this stuff? My car's not working. You know, and it's like, I mean, that's fair. That's a fair thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, it's kind of like, it's like mental exercise. It's fun to think about, like what does that mean? How does that challenge my viewpoint of what I perceive as real? If it's not exactly how we think it is. You know, and I, again, and I know this is shitty advertising, but I talk about that a little bit in my book, is like, you know, how you act today is a direct reflection of the ghost that you will be tomorrow. Right? What the things that you do, and how you treat other people, how you treat your family members, your loved ones, that stranger down the road, you know, just everything that you do, someday somebody is going to remember it. And you know, that directly paints a picture of how you're going to be remembered, and the ghost that you become. And so it's kind of that fun little, like, intersection of reality, what actually happened, and perceived reality, mixed with supernatural. And I think I don't know, I love going down those little rabbit holes.
Mm-hmm. So bringing it back around to your book. So how much of what you shared tonight is in the book from your experience at College Hill?
So I shared, actually, my conversation with Charlie, not the experience, not the paranormal experience, interestingly enough, but I guess, while to me the experience of having this interaction and, you know, going out and trying to learn something from this person, that was impactful to me, but weirdly enough, the most impactful thing I experienced that entire weekend was Charlie kind of, like, shattering my view of Penhurst, Penn.
I want to know where Pinehurst is now, though.
Ooh,
Right? Yeah, Christine might know something we don't. That's all I'm saying.
we need this information now. I think the most interesting thing was kind of when I walked in and Charlie kind of shattered my view of this creepy building, and everybody's had these dark experiences, and he's like, no, I love this place. I was born here. You know, my parents, passed away here, and they went through surgeries here, and my sister, so and so, this family member, that family member, these friends, and I'm just like, damn, like, I don't know, it almost felt rude that I was walking in there under the pretense that this was going to be very creepy, and then in reality, it is a place that somebody had a lot of compassion about.
Well, but every place we investigate is that to somebody.
I know, and that's the hard part, that we always, it's so easy to forget when there's not a direct connection. When you skip a generation, it becomes the creepy old place because there's no way to tie yourself to its history. And having that, Charlie's like, yeah, no, I was born here. It almost holds a little bit more reverence in a weird way that all buildings should. But the fact that you can so closely touch that history, you can put your hand on it and be like, yeah, that, wow, it's still warm. I can still feel that. I think was just and not saying that that's not the thing for all other locations, but just the fact that I walked in there and that really hit it home for me. That yeah, St. Albans is a creepy place, and we have all these really creepy stories about, red eyes and the suicide bathrooms and all this and that, but they were real people. They had real experiences. Penhurst, I'm going to be going to Penhurst soon, and kind of the same thing. I walked in there and I was like, man, I've heard so many crazy stories about Penhurst. I really want to have a really crazy story about Penhurst. Everything I read is that it was just horrible, and people were, it was just brutal conditions, everything, so on and so forth, painting the worst picture in my mind. And I walk in there, and one of the first people I meet is a tour guide who was a former nurse there. And she talks about how, I asked her, I was like, well, tell me about one of your, because I'm always weird. I go into my interview phase because I want to know all the information. But I'm like, tell me one of your most memorable moments here. And she's like a ghost story. And I'm like, no. Just your most memorable. And she, she told me this story about this boy who, he was a little bit older, but he mentally was a young boy, and I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but she shares about how she would interact with him, and it was just so part of her day to go and see him and to chat with him, and how much she loved taking care of him, and just the appreciation she had, and the fact that those folks worked so hard to try to do good, in a world that these folks were tossed to the side. They weren't remembered. This was, hey, it's socially unacceptable to have somebody with a mental handicap here. Guess we got to ship them to the asylum. And like, I get that some people had probably good intentions, but it was overrun, overcrowded. There were really bad, living conditions. It was unsanitary. But even through all of that, there were the helpers. There were the good people, the people that were trying to do as much as they could to help. And she would say, she told me that her and a bunch of her other girlfriends that were nurses would rotate in on the weekends because they didn't get paid. Nobody had money to pay them to work the weekend, so they'd rotate in. And I just thought that was the most admirable thing. And again, it, because I could so closely touch that history, I think I felt like I was able to connect with it so much more vividly. And it was just, I don't know, it was just so different than walking into a place that I'm not able to meet anybody and say, tell me about it. Tell me about your story here, because I've heard all the clickbait creepypasta stories online. Tell me your story. And so that's what I kind of wrote about, and I wrote a little bit about that at a lot of different places, of these paranormal, either paranormal locations or paranormal experiences that kind of changed the way that I perceive how even I go about investigating. And one of the very first things that I share in the book is actually about two of my best friends passing away. One of them was a childhood friend of mine. We ended up going through middle school and high school and college together. And he passes away from Crohn's disease, and that being the very first death that I experienced as a young adult, was one of my best friends. And that was rough, and it kind of, I always remember looking back at that and just thinking, like, why did that happen to him? He was so sure about what he wanted in life. He knew what he wanted. He knew what he wanted to get out of life. He knew what he wanted to do when he got older and grew up and got a career and all these sorts of things. And he wasn't sitting around waiting for it to happen. He was getting involved. And I struggled with that for a real long time. And then I'm like, but like, how is that not the best teacher? Despite all of the hurdles life threw in his way, he decided to say, screw it, I'm going to live it anyways. And he did. And one of those things that he did was help start up a organization known as Extra Life. And to this day, they've raised millions of dollars for families that have had children with terminal illnesses. And they're still going to this day. And it's just, I don't know, that's just such a profound thing to see the effects that, he sowed those seeds but didn't get to see the rewards. And it's I guess bittersweet in a way, seeing the fruits of that labor, but in the same way, just as kind of we talked about reality and time being slices, me sharing his story is my way of keeping him alive, keeping that slice of time together, alive.
Isn't that what we call legacy in Hamilton?
It
That we
is.
sow that we don't get to see.
I actually, I wrote that in the book, and I quoted. I said, legacy isn't just for Hamilton. It's too funny. Sorry, I love Hamilton.
Yeah.
But I talk about that. I talk about the passing of one of my other friends, David Taylor, whom hopefully you guys had the opportunity to meet. He was another podcaster, and he was a fantastic friend. And he passed away a couple of weeks before the Hanover Tavern Paracon was supposed to kick off. And that hit me just incrementally hard. And I remember sitting at that Paracon kind of on autopilot because I was expecting to see David to show up and turn around a corner and, I'd bump into somebody and I'd get a flash of David, you know what I mean? And that really clouded my entire, I guess, pursuit of the paranormal for a year. And still sometimes does, not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
And so I talk about that and some of the experiences that we had on an investigation before he passed away, where we were again in an SD session, and I was again under, if you will, and it was at a place called the Hanover Arts and Activity Center. I don't know if you've been there.
No.
It's in downtown Ashland. Former church turned Civil War field hospital, turned church, turned community center. And we were in the basement of this building, which is also a daycare center. So we're all sitting in these tiny little chairs, and we're doing this SD session, and it was in October, I think it was, and David had drove up from North Carolina to come and hang out for the evening. And we were doing this session, and all of a sudden I say, Davey, are you there? Can you hear me? Davey. And after the third or fourth time, David speaks up and he says, hey, Mom. And she says, it's going to be all right. You're going to be all right. Everyone's going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right. And he said, okay, Mom. And and I think she said "love you" or something like that, and that was it. That was it. That was it. That was the entire experience. And I remember after that walking upstairs and then going outside with David, and I said, "Hey, are you okay, man?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm all right." And I said, "Is it common for like your mom or whom we presume to be your mother to be reaching out or contacting you, so on and so forth?" And he said, I haven't heard a day. I haven't heard her voice since the day she passed. She hasn't reached out to me. She hasn't contacted nothing." And he's like, I just, he didn't. It wasn't like he held any hatred for that. He just understood, and he appreciated that she came through. And I didn't think much of it until after processing and thinking about David and all this, and I'm just like, there were so many of us, not everybody, because I mean, David was just so well loved, and everybody freaking knew the man, and everybody was friends with David. Everybody loved him, but there was a good chunk of us that called him family that were there that night. Um, Jessica Potter was there. I was there. Chris, a few other people, and it's at one inclination you look at it and you're like, okay, that was David's mom reaching out to just say, hey, you're gonna be okay. Maybe he was going through something difficult at the time. Um, but on the flip side, was it also a message for everybody that was also there? And you're gonna be okay. Everyone's gonna be all right. You know. Um, Now, that interpretation might be entirely and incredibly wrong. Uh, but it's really hard to not think back on that and wonder if it wasn't something more than just a coincidence. And again, almost goes back to your time idea, right? The time slices that, everything, just because somebody's passed away doesn't mean they didn't ever exist. Everything always exists. It's just when.
Hmm.
Um, and so I don't know. It kind of, I guess, in a way, gave me a little bit of comfort. Um, but it is just one interpretation of kind of grief grappling with you know the paranormal and how we explore it. The experiences that we have, we take in to every investigation with us, whether we want to admit it or not. Everything that has ever happened to you in your entire life, you take with you, and to everywhere you go. And that helps or hurts in some cases. It creates rose-colored glasses that you interpret preternatural phenomena and activity. And a lot of times that's up to us to determine, is that this, or is that out here? Is this actually occurring? But then to not also be, really, really selfish and be like, that was my message. And in the meantime, you're at like somebody's private home, and they're like, no, that was my great grandmother Gertrude. And you're like, no, 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 that was for me. But it's interesting because you can't just presume that everything that's happening, especially if you're out there, is it for you? Is it for somebody else? Is it for the client? Is it for a location? So it kind of digs a lot into that, and philosophy and psychology around losing people, and how does that show up in how we interpret the paranormal. So it's definitely a heavy book, um, but it was very cathartic for me to write it,
Hmm.
and to have something out on paper that has been in my head for a long time. And I share some experiences about different places and places you guys have been, and all that sorts of thing. But it's really meant to just make us explore the idea that you know that almost unspoken idea that um, we investigate the dead, but um, sometimes it's also it can get very close to home. Uh, and how do we interpret what's going on when we have that heavy weight looming over our heads. So it's fun. It's great. Rainbow and sunshine. Talk about unicorns. No. So so I'm gonna have it on Amazon. Weirdly enough, the Kindle version is available for pre-purchase. The book is it's all gonna be coming out May 24th, but the physical copy won't show up on Amazon until day of. It's like surprise, and instead of like letting people pre-order or anything like that, but it will be. Oh look, Pinehurst is in Galloway Township, New Jersey. Oh, I might be coming to stay with you. But it will be available May 24th. I'm also planning on a few things. I've already talked to the wonderful folks at St. Albans Sanatorium in Radford, Virginia, as well as Hanover Tavern. If you do find yourselves at one of those locations, my hope is to have some there. And I've already talked with Marcel and David, and we're going to sell them at cost. It's like $5 to print or something, so that if you do purchase it from there, 100% of the proceeds goes directly to those historic locations.
That is so you, Steve, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like,
on brand.
The
very cool.
two of the big places that helped, I guess, birth the idea. One was St. Albans. If it wasn't for a good friend of mine, Angie, that is on Bedford Paranormal, and she hosts Enigma Cons every year. And that's a really fun con at St. Albans, full day of speakers, vendors, then you get to investigate. And every year she would challenge me because she's like, I don't want to have a Paracon where everybody talks about Ghost Hunting 101. You know, and she's like, I have come up with ideas for every speaker because I know you, and I want to pick something for you guys. Something that's different, so here's your topic. And I wrote and I researched an entire presentation on Skinwalker Ranch. And I think we've done that here.
We have, yeah.
We did.
And that was the first one. And then the second one was around the Missing 52, which I didn't actually get to complete. It's the idea of these children and people that go missing in America's national parks. And there's actually somebody that has done a lot of research around it, but the books are very, very, very freaking expensive. And I don't remember the title of the series, but it's really hard because it was a very limited series run, and so they're all very highly valued. But just around that time, I had I don't know, I was just not in a great place mentally, and just a lot of really what I perceived to be negative things recurring, with just people passing away. And I remember Shelley passing, battling cancer. She was a volunteer at St. Albans, and she had just literally passed away like a month prior to Enigma Cons, and it was just a rough time. There was just a lot of loss, and so I was like, man, I'm battling with this right now too. It would be really interesting to kind of unpack it a little bit, and maybe if I share a story, it might help other people heal with their own. And so that was always the idea, was this might not be, this might not be your direct story, but the idea is narrative transformation and transportation, so that you can connect, right? And maybe you can get something out of it, for your own personal use. But the whole idea of the book was literally born at St. Albans. The very first presentation of The Ghost We Carry, which was a PowerPoint presentation before it was anything else, was at St. Albans with Chris and one of my other brothers from another mother, oh my God, Alan Marston. And so it was me, Chris, and Alan, and we talked about this. And I don't know, just the people that were there that listened just seemed so appreciative that, like, somebody talked about the all too real version of paranormal which is there is death all around us, and sometimes it hits really close to home. And how do we deal with that? And it's not like a guidebook. I'm not telling you how to deal with it. It's just this is how,
It's like a journal. It feels like it's a journal for you.
yeah, it's a journal, it's a journey, and it's maybe a way to help you kind of get through your own. But it if it wasn't for St. Albans and that event, it wouldn't have been there. And the same thing with the tavern. I spend so much time at the tavern that I wanted it to also benefit it. In fact, on the back cover is a picture of the cage bar in the tavern. So it's incredibly hard to see because it's dark. But this picture is the tavern. This is the table. And then the front is actually just a really interesting shot that I took. We were up in Pennsylvania investigating. Oh no, I think we were in Michigan investigating, and it was a rainy day. And I just thought of what a juxtaposition of this single chair sitting at the edge of a path into the forest. Yeah, so it'll be around soon. I think I'm gonna maybe bring a couple of copies to Penner's Paracon, if I can get some, and then I don't know. We'll see where it goes. It'll be fun.
Very cool.
It'll be an adventure.
So, wow, very deep tonight, Steve. So,
We're going in. We need like a very light note. Well, you know what? That's Jamie's fault.
It is. That was it.
so back to College Hill. It's about 8 hours away for us. What about you? How far is it away for you?
I want to say it was maybe 6 hours. I mean, it's definitely get a hotel. Actually, what's really cool, the owners of the old hospital in College Hill, also Charlie and Tanya, they own a couple of Airbnbs that are right there. One of which was the one of the doctors that helped form the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
It was his former house.
Very cool.
And then the other was like, I think, I can't remember the other, but it was another one that was tied to the house, whether it was nurses or something like that. So they have two places, one of which you're staying literally on the property. We stayed at an Airbnb that was kind of up in the hills, but you'll definitely want to get a place to stay. Make sure you eat good food because you're in the Appalachian, man. You got to get some good Southern food.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just seeing an opportunity for 2 road trips to come together in West Virginia. You come over and we come down.
We could totally go back because I've been talking about it. I've actually I have this idea of something I want to film there. We actually filmed an episode of Eerie Encounters that is still sitting on my hard drive with an entire interview with Charlie and everything that I just talked about on freaking video, and it's just all sitting right there. So we'll get there.
I mean, I'm down for this road trip. Much like how I feel like Salem's calling me, this is a place where every time it comes up, it's like I need to be there, and I want to kind of find out why I need to be there.
It is such a beautiful place. There is the closest like formal civilization is actually across the border in Kentucky, which you can actually see from the hospital. So we went, that was my first visit to Kentucky, was going there to the Walmart. And I have a picture of me in front of the Walmart that I sent to a friend of mine that lives in Kentucky, and I said, "Hey, I visited your state," and it's it's just me in a Walmart parking lot.
Perfect.
I said it sucks, and I'm out. No, I'm just kidding. But it's a cool spot. Highly recommend it. Salem's also amazing. But I would, I think the old hospital is one of those places. I know, Destination Fear has done it, and I think it's one of those places that is gonna hit kind of the big rotations. People have those rotations.
I mean,
and I like hitting them before you have to start fighting tooth and nail to investigate it.
Yeah.
I mean, Destination Fear, they've been there twice. They did once as Destination Fear and then another time as Project Fear. And I still think the episode from when they're Project Fear, when they went there, is the one that, like, sticks to me the most. And it's because of the elevator door opening and closing, and like you can see with them, like they were very much like this isn't like we're not doing this. Like they were showing like there was no power in this area that they were at. They're like they could not figure out what was going on in the elevator.
Yep.
Well, it sounds like maybe we should do a follow up with Charlie and Tanya. And
Yes.
Tanya, right? And
I think you should. I mean, I actually texted them because I was like, "Hey guys, I'm doing a podcast." I think they were busy tonight, but they're wonderful folks, and I mean, they have been there their entire lives, and so that's why I like, I really enjoyed talking to them as opposed to like, okay, tell me about all the ghost stories. I'm like, tell me about this place. Why is it important to you? Why did you buy an abandoned hospital? What you know what I mean? Like that's a valid question that people seem to forget to ask. And because
Yeah,
even Charlie, he's like people, nobody really asks me these things.
because
I didn't.
a lot of times they're owned by not for profits or entities or things like that. But to be an
Yeah.
individual and buy this, that's very, like you said, very intriguing. So it's really
Yeah, and then, I asked him, I'm like, what are your favorite stories from this place? And he sat there for a second, and he's like, of all the times I've done this, nobody's ever asked me that question. And he actually, if the video ever is released, he actually thanked me at the end, Chris and I, because he's like, they just brought back a flood of memories of him as a child running up and down the halls, or just these experiences that he had. And I'm like, that to me is like, I don't know, this sounds weird, but it's like the gold mine of learning a location. It's not a secondhand recount of somebody's journal who was 100 years ago that passed away. It's not your reinterpretation of their interpretation of things. It is firsthand. I remember this. I ran down that hall. I did that over there. I remember the nurse that worked over there, and I just it was so much more of a meaningful investigation. And I think that people should experience that, and have a chance to experience it, other than like, and I'm not calling these places out, but Tala and some of these bigger places have a product. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's great, and I think that that's how they stay open. And I can't support these places enough, but they have a product. You buy a ticket, you go on a tour. What you hear is what is written down on a script, right? I'm not saying that's false, but that is a storyteller telling somebody else's stories, and they never hit as hard as if they were your own. And so walking with Charlie through this hospital and him saying, yeah, that's where this happened, that's where that happened in my life, that's where this happened, it just paints an entirely different picture about a haunting, about a location, about the importance of it. Everything changes. And I love that. There's not many places you can get that. So it's really cool when it happens. Highly recommend it. And they're really nice people. They're very hospitable. They're like, all right, have at it. Lock up when you leave. It was great.
sounds like Kyle at Whitehill.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's another place. If you haven't been, Steve, we've got to get you there.
Oh, it's so cool there.
I talk to him every time I see Kyle. I talk to him about it, and then I just haven't had a chance to do it. But it is absolutely on my list of places that I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see. There's some, like I'd love to see Tala. I'd love to see all these places, but there are places that are very specific. Like I want to see these on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
And Whitehill is a place I really want to go to. So.
I'm telling you, Chad, next time we go to Whitehill, I'm doing the Estes in that bathtub.
Just doing the bathtub besties.
The bloody bathtub besties. Yeah.
Bloody bathtubs, Estes, yes.
Esties with my besties in the bloody bathtub. I love it.
So, well, we've gone on for about an hour and 45 minutes, so maybe we should bring this to an end.
Yeah.
Steve, thank you so much for the in-depth discussion, like
Thank you as always.
going down the rabbit holes and coming right back up and popping down another one. Like it's
Dude, I tried to be good. I tried to rein myself in. I tried.
but
Try is a key word.
so,
Attempt. There was an attempt.
There was solid attempts. It's bad, man.
Yeah.
Listen, this is ADHD with no guardrails. You are the guardrails.
And Jamie said no.
Nah,
We're gonna
tonight.
put the guardrail down.
Did he bring a guardrail? No, get rid of that.
it's like bowling with bumpers, and they're all of a sudden they're just gone.
Yes.
So
Hey, look, we say this all the time that the paranormal has no walls. Why should Steve? Right?
Right.
so. Well, again, Steve, thank you so much. It's a pleasure every time. I mean,
Thank you guys.
we told Ron and Lourdes that after 4 or 5 times they got a shirt. So I think
The 5-time club. So
I think Steve's due.
I just need the shirt size. I'll take care of the rest.
Are you guys coming to Penhurst? Will you be there?
No.
Okay.
We are
I'll see you
committed elsewhere that day.
That's
Mhm.
fine. I'm also. Well, I'll be at the bash. You guys typically come to the bash.
I saw that you were going to be at the bash.
I am always at the bash.
We
The bash is a staple.
Yeah.
I
love that
have
event.
not been to the bash yet, so I feel like I need to go up to the bash.
We will have a paranormal lens day at the bash at some point. So.
Got to experience the bash.
Yeah.
The bash is the best, and it's Gettysburg. I mean, my God, Gettysburg's at everything. We were talking about dumb things that I do. I was convinced to go and not hunt because I refuse to shoot and kill the Bigfoot, but to view and watch, possibly creepily, to watch the Bigfoot. We went Sasquatch sighting.
Yeah.
In a thunderstorm.
Oh, I remember
Perfect.
that. I was there when you guys were planning. And you were like, "You want to go?" I'm like, "No, I got to go home."
Steve.
You missed out, man. Andy had chloroform and rags. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we had.
That's all you remember.
Yeah, that's all I remember. Then I heard you sit down for
I
a
believe
while.
John was with you, right? John.
John and Debbie Covey.
Yep.
We gotta
God,
bring
who was
those
my
bumpers
God.
back up now.
It was Stacy. It was me, Andy, Chris. I mean, and we lost cell signal halfway out there. Andy's like, it's 10 minutes down the road, and it was like an hour out. Like, it was ridiculous. And I told Chris, I was like, this is how we're gonna die. We're gonna die out in the middle of nowhere. Like, I was like, we're gonna pull up. We're gonna pull up, and there's, because he's like, it's just right down the road. We're gonna pull up. There's gonna be like a camper van, and Andy's gonna get out with like a couple of rags and some chloroform. I said, that's how we end. This is it. I swear to God, we pull into the parking lot, and at the very end of the lot, in this dark, creepy corner, is a camper van, and that's where Andy goes to park. And I was like, "This is it. We're dead." It was good times. It was great.
We will see you at the bash. We probably won't go Sasquatch. We won't go.
I don't know if we're gonna go Squatch sighting, but we're definitely gonna go eat at the Dobbins and Farnsworth and Mr. G's ice cream and go to the battlefields.
You're gonna do the Gettysburg experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You must.
Yeah.
You must,
I love
as everyone should.
Yeah.
It's good.
So, well, Steve, I want to thank you again. And anytime, if you have something you want to join us, just let us know. It sounds like Kirstin was going to book you for something. So,
Was I?
Well, you said you were going to make sure number 6 happened. So,
Yeah, I'll figure something out.
We'll do it.
So,
Perfect.
all right. Well, if
We're not going to talk about apples. That's all.
Yeah, I'm gonna book you for apples from Fuji.
Fuji apples. Let's go.
Fuji apples.
oh my, Steve,
Right next to Mount Fiji and their water. They're known for their water. So we got everything.
we're going way off the rails now.
Bumpers back up.
Yeah. So, Steve, if you don't mind hanging out in the green room again for a few minutes, we'll catch up with you soon. But again, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you again real soon. So,
Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you guys.
we're going to cover what we've got coming up here. Jamie, I think that's you, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So next week, and man, thanks for using the -4 font once again. Um,
Perfect.
but I know what it is, so at least I got that. Next week, we're going to talk about the Magnolia Plantation down in Derry, Louisiana, which may well be the most haunted location in the entire state. So I'll stake claim to that with the presentation. So let's see. I'll let you guys decide. But a fantastically old place that's got a lot of history and a lot of spooky stuff with it. So more to come.
Cool.
And then I lost my mouse, guys. I'm sorry.
I got it.
There we go. And then coming up on the 19th, we have From Folklore to Fear, The Cryptids of Celtic Lands. That'll be Kirstin. Coming around to chat again, Mount Vernon, The Haunting House of Washington, Haunting the Home of Washington, sorry. Back on June 2nd. It's going to be June soon, guys. Like, what the heck? I'm going to take on Mercy Brown, Vampire or Victim. And then after that, Kirstin's got Shadows of the Yokai, The Spirits of Japanese Folklore. And Chad coming back around again, the Crescent Hotel. I love this place. Where the cure became the curse. And there's a lot. There's more to that than it looks like. So it's just in the queue of it already. So that's fascinating. So, but the Crescent's a great place down in Arkansas. So fantastic choice, Chad. Mm-hmm. And then, the ways to find us, all the good stuff that we do as the podcast and Jotnik's Paranormal in general. And I lost my mouse once again. This thing sucks. Thank you. You can find us our website at www.jot-nix-paranormal. That's JOTT-NYX paranormal.com. Send us an email, episode requests, or comments about how off the rails we really went tonight. info@paranormal-lens.com. All of our socials are available on Linktree, which is linktr.ee/paranormal lens. And if you're at all interested in supporting the product that we create for you each week, we have a Buy Me a Coffee, which is buymeacoffee.com/paranormal9, or hit the QR code that's on the screen if you're watching us. So, as always, we are happy to cover listener submissions. So if there's a topic you'd like us to talk about and cover for you, plus just reach out. All of that good stuff. The info email works best. Drop us a note in the comments section of the episode you're watching. We'll find them all, and we're always happy to do that. And if you want number 6 for Steve, let us know, or 7, or 8, or 9. I guess at 10 he gets a second T-shirt, right?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, let's get there. I'm happy for that.
I want the pants.
What pants? It's going to be a whole set.
Pants are good. Yeah. You have a whole uniform.
So, well, on that note, let's wrap this up and say goodbye to everybody. But the old hospital on College Hill may no longer serve patients, but its story isn't over. If you've ever had an experience there or anywhere you can't quite explain, we want to hear it. Because every story brings us one step closer to understanding what's really out there. Stay alert, stay respectful, and stay curious. Good night, everybody. Thanks again, Steve.